Taylor Sheridan's 1923 is a wrap. And while I liked 1923 season one, I enjoyed 1883 more. But let's hear about season two, what I thought about it. Is it better? Did it catch up? Did it really exceed or let me down? Let's talk about it right now. All right, I don't want to hide the lead here. I thought 1923 was a complete waste of my time. I can't believe I sat through two full seasons to finally get the episode I want. That's right, Spencer finally coming home, the Dutton War. Now, I'm not saying I didn't like the show, I enjoyed it very much, but at the same time, this could have been such an elite show, a great show that would make you want and be thirsty for so much more in the adventure, the family history, getting to flesh out a lot of what happens between 1923 and the events of Yellowstone. And instead, I'm just watching a whole bunch of useless and irrelevant characters, a whole bunch of commentary on what life was like during that era, and having little political jabs here and there. And that's pretty much it. Got worse in season two, not better. So, case in point is the priest and this local official that he's hired to go after the girl. And she's the Indian girl that is the grandmother of the characters that are in Yellowstone. And while I didn't hate any of this, it just drags on so much, and none of this really matters because we know that she is going to survive, that the rainwater heritage will live on. The problem is everyone becomes the villain, the motivations become so exaggerated. So the Indians that are there, her father and this one that she befriends and she sleeps with, I assume that she cared so much was going to quote marry, but they're all dispatched and it's all just done in just all elements of evil. And they were going to send a U.S. Marshal after her. We're going to see how that wraps up. All right, Jennifer Carpenter does play the real life Marshall Mammy Fawcett, but she does it in a way that is completely retarded. I will be perfectly honest. They run up on these characters, they are tracking things down, and then it's ultimately going to come to a confrontation. They eventually arrest Tiana and they're going to take her in and stand trial for all the different things. But sadly, as the marshal is going to testify, there are no witnesses alive because she's murdered most of them, and they're just going to dismiss the case, even though that she actually murdered one of Carpenter's, the Fawcett's co-marshals, in front of her. So Mammy Fawcett was portrayed as a complete moron, and all of the U.S. law was portrayed as complete moronic. Like we're not going to address the fact that, hey, by the way, the Catholic churches that are being run by these nuns and these priests are abusing these poor girls because they're Indian. And oh, by the way, when the Indian strikes out and actually murders some, if there just aren't enough witnesses, we're just going to let her go. And then we just turn her loose into the wild. Go make a life for yourself. And then she says she's not going home to Montana, which would at least tie to the Yellowstone. She's going to go to California first. And I'm sure there's a Yellowstone episode where that makes sense. But I'm not a Yellowstone fan that's big enough to remember all those excruciating details. And it would have been nice to have spelled it out for me, or at least make this a character that I would root for. I never cared. She become animalistic at times, and then also she's supposed to be all sweet and innocent and naive other times, and it is by far the worst elements of the show. And you can tell Taylor Sheridan is always kind of playing it kind of safe with all the Native Americans and Indian conversation. So definitely the weakest thing. It was the weakest thing in season one. It's by far the weakest thing now. Really can't stand it. Okay, Spencer is finally coming home 2 seasons later. Okay, listen, I wanted this to speed along. And instead, what happened in season two is most of the time is spent on all of the life and trials and difficulties it is to travel around the world, right? He and Alex are married and they're on this boat together and they get separated. And that's kind of where we leave them. And now they're both on completely independent paths back home to Montana, each enduring ridiculous scenarios with him. He's fighting for money at one point. Then he's doing like a bootleg run for moonshine, but then he kind of just turns out he gets arrested, but then they know who he is. Oh, he should go do this instead. And everything just keeps working out for the two of them on their journeys so that we can just see what life is like. Now, I admit the Alex story arc where she's talking about traveling by herself isn't safe. She could be attacked. Her money can be stolen. How do you hide your money? What do you do? That is fine. It just repeated itself like 3 different times. Like the 3rd or 4th time, basically we got it, right? And then she ends up on a train working to eat because they've stolen all of her money, and then she meets some rich people who help her. And that's pretty much the bulk of this. It again, this is the same thing I feel about many shows is you could probably just watch this. It's almost like a 2-hour finale. You can watch the recap and this finale and you get pretty much most of it. Sure, you're going to miss a few scenes here and there. There was a lot of action that took place right before this episode, but you're also going to sit through several episodes of hardly any action. So, that's your trade-off. All right, one of the villains in this series is actually Banner Crichton. He's the Scottish sheepherder played by Jerome Flynn. They're next to the Duttons. They're kind of adversaries, and they have been this entire time. But now we're going to have this really sped up story arc for Banner. Like suddenly he's going to see the ills of the guy that he's been working for, Whitfield, played by Timothy Dalton, who's basically the uber oligarch wealthy guy who's hired Bannon and other men, other thugs, to take all the Dutton property from basically repeating the Yellowstone story, basically. But now suddenly Banner's going to have a crisis of faith and say, listen, yeah, this guy is evil, and I hate the Duttons. But this guy is evil for the sake of being evil. He likes watching people suffer, which is, again, been something that has been repeated over and over and over again. I actually accidentally clicked a season 1 episode thinking I was in season 2. And the sequence that they were playing was about Whitfield and these girls, and he's torturing them basically. And I'm like, I didn't even realize it was not in the right season for a minute. It took a while until they cut to other characters. I realized that's not where those characters are. What happened? I paused it and realized it says season 1. That's how repetitive the show can be at times. And the fact that Banner has kind of played all that, they really should have had this a lot sooner in the season, probably about halfway, to have some sincere uh, reunion with his wife and a conscious of faith of like, what have you gotten yourself into? So I don't know. I'm working for the Satan. I'm working for the monster. Well, the Duttons aren't this bad. Like I know I don't like the Duttons, but I don't like them. And instead it becomes this rush thing that puts him in harm's way right in the finale. I don't know. Again, not the worst thing in the world, but not good either. All right, there's the Timothy Dalton as Whitfield. He's in a room full of just the uber white guys. They're just to basically plan out what they're going to do with the Dutton land that he's not telling them. He's just violently taking. He's attacking the house. They're going to just murder women and children, all these farm hands. They're going to murder everybody to do this. Basically to put in a ski lodge to make a bunch of cash. I will say it feels in line with what we know about this era, but I also know that this just drug on forever. Like we did, this is what we've reduced it to. Like there wasn't really something else interesting going on. And they, by the way, just kind of ignore the fact that the whole time they're playing up the whole Whitfield had paid the taxes, so therefore the Duttons are obligated to him. And when it doesn't happen again, this is what's going to happen. And then suddenly he sees a couple skiers and goes, I see a resort here. He becomes the Bugsy Seagull of Vegas. Whitfield does it in Montana. And that's what we're supposed to have. And again, this is in the finale. This is in those last couple episodes. It's very, very rushed. And it's not that it's, doesn't make sense. It's just the fact that the way it comes to a head is even more rushed. All right, I mentioned the journeys. And again, Alex is in the car with this uber wealthy group from the Midwest. They're taking a car ride. They ignore the warnings from the store owner when they get gas. And she's like, there's no other stores. Like, where are you going? And no one thinks that they should have stayed. It was really one of the dumber elements in the entire series to date. But it ultimately results with them freezing to death. She is in the back of the car. She falls asleep and somehow doesn't freeze to death. And then she basically builds a little fire, some of which are out of Spencer's notes. I don't know why pieces of the car were off limits, but that notwithstanding, she's here with the car on fire, trying to get the train's attention because, yes, the train shows up just in time, right before she dies. And yeah, literally see each other from the train, run past the dead guy into each other's arms. It's such a moving moment, I know, for everyone out there. Okay, if you don't like conveniences, this moment might actually drive you completely mad. It was a little bit of a stretch for me. It also was kind of heartwarming to see them come back together again. Like I said, though, didn't need a whole season to get to this point. Now, there's a quick little exchange here because she's obviously not going to make it. She's got massive frostbite on her fingers and her toes. She's going to need some amputation done, but she doesn't want to lose the baby. There's all this back and forth about what actually should happen and what Spencer should do. It's supposed to be a lot more tragic than it is. It is really good, and there is a lot of some emotions that are working out really well with their union and then her passing. I was just shocked that this is kind of how they were going to go about it. All right, there is the shootout. It's going to happen. There's people going to die. Oh, wait. Spencer's going to show up just in time. There you go. And again, there's a lot of conveniences. There's a lot of things that kind of work themselves out to be at the right place at the right time. And it is done well because this is what I wanted all along. I wanted to see Spencer come home. And there is one shot which is absurd and also fantastic where they're there, they don't see him and they've lined themselves up. So with one bullet, he takes out three guys. And then he's just walks in, just guns blazing. He's taking them all out. And the other guy's like, hey man, Spencer, I didn't even get to take a shot. So look, this is what we all wanted. And now we wanted to know kind of what happens now. How do you hold everything together? Nope, we're not going to get any of that. We spent all of season 2 just to get to this point. I didn't say it in the last scene, but I'll say, it again here. Helen Mirren was fantastic in season 1. I didn't think Harrison Ford was really that big a deal, but in season 2, he really is good. So is she. There's a quick little exchange where they're going to go confront Whitfield with Spencer, and it goes exactly how you would expect. Say my wife's name, bolt to the head, done. So abrupt. It's so abrupt. We're expected to sit through like, I don't know, 16 hours of our life. I guess it's not, because not every episode is that long or whatever. But I mean, let's just assume it's 12 hours of our life watching these things. They do realize that we could watch like the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy instead of watching their show. Like, I'm not ever watching this again. And not because it's terrible, it's just because there's so much time wasted to get to what we actually want to see. There's the quick little ending, everything's going to work out. The narrator, Elsa, comes in, she's explaining how things happen from 1923 to Yellowstone, blah, blah, blah. That's the end of the show. Look, all in all, both seasons are fine. I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot more than most entertainment and shows that are on right now. But at the same time, I'm not giving this an 8 or a 9 or some absurd score. This is insane. Like, how much time is spent to get me to what I want, which was Spencer was the cool character. They killed off other characters that I actually kind of like. They just leave other things kind of hanging and floating. We don't even know what happens with, I think it's Jake's wife, because he doesn't make it, but the wife just leaves. Where's that kid? She has a kid, right? At some point. Where's that kid? Is that mentioned in Yellowstone too? I just don't know it. I mean, it's totally fine if I just don't know things. I just feel like it's on them to kind of keep me posted better about what actually am I supposed to get out of everything in their show. All the characters are great as far as how they're created. I think the cast is great as far as their execution of everything. I just think that we don't need 16 episodes to tell this story. And this was really like 2 2-hour movies would have been fine. And then we would just want more. Like, it would have just been better time, money, and everything sent. Is make season 1 a 2-hour movie, make this a 2-hour movie, and then make another 2-hour movie with what happens next. Don't totally love how Alex passes and makes up the baby John who becomes like the grandfather to the John we get in Yellowstone. But Yellowstone's a story for another time, am I right? Overall, this is a failure of opportunity. This is a massive failure for what could have been. It is not a failure of being like a 2-star show. It's not. It's a 3.5 star show with no watchability. I'm not sitting through this much of it. If I were to watch anything again, I'm just going to watch a few random episodes and just watch the recaps. So I could probably watch 4 total episodes in the 2 seasons and get the general vibe and the gist of everything. That's pretty much the show. So I know many of you are really upset with me. So you guys hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. I can tell you that I still think I enjoy rewatching 1883. I think it's just a shorter, faster journey. They're just moving quicker. I wish there was even more meat on the bone with that one and it was divided into different things to give me that, but they are what they are. And I'm just, Taylor Sheridan is still better than most people. So I have to be honest with that. And that's my take on it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hi, Pops.
Adios, amigo.